So today I have slightly relocated. It's obviously always hard to find anywhere that's not completely dark in these times. So welcome to my bed. First of all, thanks for watching. My name is Caroline and I live in Scotland with my partner Ben. I am actually originally Danish, but I've lived in Scotland for 6 years now. I started knitting in May, and this video is the first video where I show off a knitted project that I think you might be sort of interested in knowing more details about. Today I'm going to be talking about this beauty. So this is the Sunday sweater and the pattern is by PetiteKnit. This is a size, I'm just double checking on Ravelry, I knitted this in a size XL. I will show you some sort of full body shots, but I actually think the XL, the positive ease, is quite big on my frame. I have a bust size of about 115 centimeters, so I picked this size based on what the pattern sort of described, but it is quite big and baggy. I knitted it in 2 strands, so PetiteKnit, like many other Scandinavian designers, often use 2 different strands of yarn. So the main strand, and I apologize, it's gotten a tiny bit crumbled, but this is Camrose Snifnug, which is actually Danish for snowflake. This is in the colour 7885 Mørkegård. Maybe you can see it there. It's this lovely, really deep green, like a forest green. And my second strand was Især Silk Mohair in the colour 37, which is, together they make this really beautiful dark green colour. I used 9 skeins in total of Snifnug, and I used 5.5 skeins of the Silk Mohair. Both of these I purchased at Loop London, which obviously isn't the, none of these yarns are particularly cheap, but I have to say that the final sort of product is like a perfect sort of fluffy look to it, and it's really soft. Især Silk Mohair is, of the ones I have tried and felt so far, 100% the absolute softest and most beautiful one. It just has a natural light sheen to it, and I think mohair is quite popular, but it can, I personally think, be a teeny tiny bit itchy. So I find that, for example, I don't particularly like touching like drops silk mohair, but this is just gorgeous. And I think if you can afford it, and obviously yarn is expensive, then I would wholeheartedly recommend this combination. The pattern itself is rated as, I think it's a 3 out of 5 or maybe a 2 out of 5 on PetiteKnit scale. So it's knitted, I'll just put my hair out of the way. It's knitted top down in the round. So you start up here by the neckline, which you can either knit down or sew down when you're done, and then you start knitting on the yoke, where you do increases in essentially a form of ribbing of knits and purls to give this almost like, to me it looks like a sun on the yoke. And then once you get here, you put the sleeves to the side, finish knitting the body, and then you finish off by knitting each sleeve in the round. My sleeves have increases, so as you might be able to tell, it's they're quite big. This is my natural arm, so it makes this a lovely big balloon sleeve, which is finished off with essentially invisible ribbing. So when you stand up, it more folds over, then you have sort of a visible balloon effect by the ribbing. This was my first sweater that I knitted in the round, and I think I learned a lot from it. I think if you've never knitted in the round before, this type of construction is lovely, because it just flies off the needles in a completely different way than patterns where you pick up stitches and you have to sew things together as you go. Once you're done, the main thing you have to do is weave in ends, and that really doesn't take as long as it does to neatly sew pieces together. The construction is the same front and back, so you have no short row shaping, which to me sometimes can also be a slight negative, because it really wants to do this where it's way too high at the front and it starts dipping a bit in the back, so I find myself having to like shuffle it forward like so. My neckline, as you might be able to tell, certainly isn't tight, and I know you can put an elastic in, but at least for me, this type of jumper is one that I will 100% get the most wear out of with like a nice shirt underneath anyway. I think they pair really well together with a nice little colour peeking through, especially because these sleeves are so big that actually the sweater doesn't fit in any of my conventional jackets, so I don't really have much of a choice. You know, I can't really wear it like out for like a walk or something, even though this is a lovely warm combo. Obviously I picked this beautiful forest green, and as much as I love the colour, I think the main thing I have to say is that it's really hard knitting in really dark colours, and as I was still quite a new knitter when I knitted this, I hadn't really thought through the difficulty of distinguishing knits and purls and things like this, which is really important for sweaters obviously, and especially one here where you work in, you know, sort of knitting in sort of knit and purls ribbing all across the top. And that was definitely made more difficult by the fact that the yarn was really dark. Another thing that I also accidentally did when I started knitting this is that this is quite an easy jumper to knit the wrong way if you are not very experienced. So I actually did that. I've knitted God knows how many rows the completely wrong way around, and I think that's something to really watch, and something I wish I'd been more conscious of. It was also before I knew about short row shaping, so actually I essentially just turned and knitted the other way and sewed up the hole at the end, but probably isn't as neat. It isn't as neatly done as I would be able to knit today. As I said, I think the sizing on this is, at least to my eyes, slightly more generous than I would have picked. I think the pattern recommends like 15 to 20 centimeters of positive ease, and I think for my frame that is just way too much. I think it would have been much nicer had I knitted it at least a size down. I knitted it, the sleeves are quilting to the pattern, but to me they are a teeny wee bit short, and as you can tell I have teeny tiny bit of gaping, and this is even though the pattern says to bind off in standard bind off, so this has no give at all, but I think it could have been just a wee bit tighter and a wee bit longer to really sit tight. However, this is, every time I post it, this is the sweater that I get the most likes of from on Instagram, and this was a dream sweater for me to knit, and I think if you are really keen to do it, it is a fairly good pattern if you've knitted just a tiny bit before. I think the hardest thing for me to keep track of on this was doing the tubular, so when you do the increases, some of them have to be tubular so that they lean correct, and doing tubular purls when you just start doing increases can be a tiny bit difficult, so I think that's the only thing I'd keep in mind. But all in all, I have absolutely loved this sweater, and I certainly see myself knitting more just because this yoke is so beautiful and so special, but it's not particularly complicated. I think even if you're a fairly new knitter, you could knit this. I think that's the main things I want to talk about when it comes to this lovely sweater. I can't help but stroke it because it's so soft. It probably does need a second wash. It grew quite a lot because it was before I used spin and drain in my washing machine, so I tried to use a towel to get some of the water out when I washed it, and it wasn't great. But I would wholeheartedly recommend this combo and this pattern, just being conscious of not turning it the wrong way, and if you're a new knitter, pick some lighter colours to make life easier. Okay, well, thank you very much for watching. If you like this video, please leave a comment, follow me on Insta, give me a like, and I will see you soon.